The third characteristic we want to talk about when you're looking at food labels is something called sugar. Sugar is something that we should be able to identify easily in a product. It should just say sugar. But we're finding that isn't always the case.
Oh, it's so hard to differentiate between naturally occurring sugars and other sugars that are added, and then seeing how much sugar is really there can be a struggle.
So what we're going to do is we're going to explain to you that sugar in and of itself comes in many different names, many different titles, many different labels, and we want to educate you on what to look for.
One of the interesting facts is that the ingredients list that we read is based on weight. So the items that have the most weight in the package that we're looking at is at the highest, or the first, and then it goes on down in decreasing weights. And so when we look at sugar, we're looking at a product that's really been dehydrated, so it was liquid to start with, and the liquid's been removed and leaving the sugar there. And so when we start looking at that, the weight ratio is reduced less than sugar would be if it was in its whole form. Mm-hmm. And so while it's sometimes maybe third, fourth, or fifth on the list, if you added the liquid back in, it would be much higher, like 1 or 2 in the list.
So when you're looking at that ingredient list, use some discernment. Here's a great example of what you see on an ingredient list that will see a lot of red flags with sugar.
Well, and one of the other things that they do through the labeling is to give different names for sugar. And so like on this one here, we see that the third ingredient is sugar. The fourth ingredient is brown sugar. They're both sugar. It's the same thing, just by a different name.
And that's not all.
So if you added those two together by themselves, it'd be ingredient number 1 would be sugar.
But then further down on the list, you begin to see dextrose.
You see corn syrup.
Honey. I mean, it's just goes
another
on.
Brown sugar down with the cranberries. It goes on and on and on. There's actually, if you look at this and counted them, you'd have 6 to 7 different types of sugar.
Different names for sugar.
Different names for sugar in different places on the label here. So then when we come back up to the nutritional facts, we see that for this cereal that really says, and this is a great cereal looking, it says with whole grain, guaranteed, check mark, it's got to be good for you, a delicious blend of sweet and tangy fruits, crunchy almonds, and a wholesome variety of grains. A low-fat part of your heart-healthy diet. Diets low in saturated fat and cholesterol may reduce the risk of heart disease. This cereal is low in fat, low in saturated fat, and naturally cholesterol-free. But it doesn't say anything about the sugar that's in it.
Well, it's got to taste good.
And it has 13 grams of sugar, so it's high in sugar. And when you look at the ingredient list, you see that there's many things in here that are bringing it besides just the good fruits that might be in there. And also when we look at this ingredient list, we're looking at the sodium, because that's what we've learned to do. The sodium on this is 290 milligrams. The calories are 200, so it's above our 1-to-1 ratio, and so we wouldn't use it for that reason.
And for 1 cup of this cereal, you will get 13 grams of sugar.
It's good.
That's a lot of sugar.
It's a lot of sugar. So there's a lot of places that are hidden sugars, and we need to be looking at the ingredient list and the nutritional facts to be able to isolate and weed out those sugars we don't want. We also want to take a look at fiber when we're looking at our nutritional facts and our label information. And what we really want is we want to where there's, especially if it says whole grain on it, where there's 3 grams of fiber for every 100 calories. So that becomes our measuring stick. So we picked up some pasta out of the store, and it says it's whole grain. And we look at this one here, it has 210 calories, and the fiber is, do you see it there?
Yep, 5.
There it is, 5. So it's not quite the...
1 for, let's see, 3 grams for every 100.
3 for 100.
But imagine if that were an enriched flour type.
Oh yes, if it was a, a unhealthy variety, it wouldn't be very good at all. It would be bad.
I use enriched in a negative way because it shouldn't be enriched, it should be whole.
Right. Well, for them to enrich it, they take everything out and then they put stuff back in it.
That's what I was thinking.
This other pasta that we picked up, it has 210 calories, and the fiber on it is 6 grams. So that's really, really close.
That's a good one.
That's really good. Then we picked up some cereals, and in this box of cereal, which looks really good, and it says right here, organic whole grain oats, crisp rice, cinnamon and raisin. And we look down in the calories, it's 210 calories, and the dietary fiber is 3.
That doesn't make it.
So it's about half of what we're looking for from a fiber perspective. And incidentally, this cereal here has 16 grams of sugar
That's
as well.
And yet that's one of those healthy version kind of cereals.
And when we look at the ingredients list, we have the second ingredient is sugar, then the third ingredient is rice or crisp rice, and that is more sugar. And so then there's honey further down, so there's a lot of different sugars in there too.
Interesting though, it says organic, and so we need to make sure that even though it says organic on the box, it's still a processed food. Organic to me works if you're looking for vegetables and fruits, but that doesn't hold true on a processed food.
Then you picked up some breads here.
I did.
And so this bread here has 80 calories, and the amount of fiber in it is 3.
That worked well.
So it's above our 3 grams for 100, which is nice. And then you picked up another loaf of bread here. Has 110 calories, and the fiber on that is 2 grams. So this does not match our rule there.
No, and yet that's from a health food store, and that's still a pretty good quality bread.
And it says that
has spelt.
It has spelt in it. So when we're looking at fiber, we want to make sure that we have a 3 grams of fiber for every 100 calories. Well, we looked at a lot of products and the ingredient list and how that all works together, and it sure is interesting how many hidden things are buried in the ingredients, the nutritional labels, and if we pay close attention, we can be detectives and pull out what's good and what's really not so good for us.
And really, not all health food is equal. Doesn't matter whether you get it from the finest health food stores out there.
Yeah, and we've pulled, everything today was health food related, so it really wasn't some of what we would consider junk food. Most of that was more on the healthy side.
So as a recap,
we want to take and follow 3 simple steps. One is to check the calories, and we're checking the calories for fat and matching the amount of fat calories against the fat and determining what the percentage is, and we want no higher than 20% fat.
Make sure you look at the sodium. Check the salt density, we called it. In other words, check the sodium against the calories.
And we want a 1-to-1 ratio. So if it's 100 calories, we don't want any more than 100 milligrams of sodium.
And read the ingredients list. Take a look at that so that you can look for any hidden sugars or any bad fats, and make sure that it's whole grain. If it doesn't say whole grain, you won't reach your 3 grams to 100 calorie fiber content.
Right. So we also want to take a close look at the serving size. And so like sometimes if it says 11 crackers and the sodium is 200, well, it's probably not going to be 11 crackers. We're going to end up eating more like 22 crackers.
Yeah.
So instead of only having 200 milligrams of sodium, it's like 400 milligrams.
And you also doubled your fat. So whatever's in that doubled.
Or the sugar or whatever there, it's doubled.
There
was one package, and I don't think we showed it today, that was, it was crackers, and they were 4 crackers was the serving size. When you take the soups,
half a cup.
Two servings in a can that most of us would just eat the whole can of.
And remember, one other thing we want you to notice is that on that nutrition facts label, where it says protein, where it says vitamin, where it says these other things that look like they'd be important, they're really not.
No. What we're really doing is getting our protein, our nutrition from our living foods, our whole foods, and typically that's not going to come from a package. And so we realize that that's all just nonsense almost.
It's a distraction.
Yes, thank you. And that we really just need to focus on those other ingredients to make sure that we're really getting what's healthy for us and not putting things in that are unhealthy.
So the next time you go grocery shopping to bring home all that food for your family, abide by those 2 rules.
We said in the very beginning, never ever believe anything on the front of a package.
And in the back of the package, read 2 different things. Read the nutrition facts label and read the ingredients list.
Healthy shopping. This is AM and PM with a special edition of HATV. We'll see you next time.